Arun Sudhaman here from the Holmes Report. We're here in Singapore this week for Spikes Asia, and I'm very lucky to be joined by Weber Shandwick Executive Creative Director Ali Grayeli. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you, mate. Good to be here.
We are here in Singapore. We're celebrating the best in creativity, in brand building in Asia Pacific. But it seems to me that there are some really big questions in terms of how brands build their reputations, drive that talkability that they all want, while at the same time maintaining a longer term purpose to guide everything they're doing, and of course drive the conversion to business results, which is kind of what's used to gauge the effectiveness of their marketing efforts. So I wanted to start by asking you whether you feel marketers are too focused on short-term commercial results and not enough on longer-term brand building.
That's a really good question. You know, marketers today have an incredibly hard job where a lot of the sales metrics and financial success of a company is based on their shoulders. And I think they are forced into a world of looking at short-term quarterly filing gains and so on. What we want to hopefully help people in our discussion today is to help them think about a longer term narrative structure in the sense of helping build equity in the brand so that they can have an easier time leveraging it in marketing efforts. And what I mean by that is if they can build that premium sense of desirability through the work they generate consistently over time, does that at the end then help in their marketing efforts in shorter sales cycles, greater word of mouth, repeat customers, and so on and so forth. I think when we fracture it too much, people might not know what to think of us, and things move so fast, we might not have a second chance to ask for their attention again.
But isn't the risk with platforms like Facebook and WeChat providing us with this kind of array of tools at our fingertips, isn't the risk that brands prioritize the kind of vanity metrics around awareness, sometimes engagement, or even really short-term sales results at the expense of something like purpose and brand equity, which are sometimes seen as these kind of high-minded, noble ideals which are impossible to prove?
It is. And the reason for that really, I believe, in my opinion, is that there isn't really a long-term or a longer-term strategy or a narrative in play. And thus you fall into the executional, tactical, short-term plays of vanity, let's call that. And brand building is seen as high-minded. Whereas if you had a strategy with the peaks and valleys and knowing that you're going to do some efforts in other places at a specific time, you can then have a more concerted effort and spend your budget wisely across it. Well, when you're reacting to briefs, you're reacting to market conditions, you're reacting to perception and reputation challenges, it's hard to keep your eye on a longer term horizon. So we really encourage that kind of strategic thought to help people align. You have so many people now, your partners, your vendors, your clients, your internal staff, your customers, and they need to know kind of who you are, how to rely on you, and if you're too short-term focused, they might not get those answers.
Okay. How important do you think it is to be able to measure brand equity in financial terms? And are we there yet?
I'm not a financial expert, but I would say absolutely it needs to become part of the equation. It will always be considered a lofty, high-minded approach with a fuzzy science behind it if we don't actually figure out what the monetization of that equity would look like in some kind of financial structure. And I don't know what that would be, but I think ultimately when a lot of brands come to market quickly, when we see lifelong brands disappear just as quickly, we see lack of loyalty, you have to ask yourself, where is the true value? When features and functions and offerings and distributions all equalize, it's a sea of sameness. So the true value someone puts onto your product or service or brand must have something tangible. And if we can figure that out, and I'm sure someone has, I'd love to understand it more, but I think that would be a really powerful weapon to help people craft these strategies more deliberately.
And lastly, before we melt, given your own experience of working in different companies, including Uber, how important do you think brand purpose is when it comes to fostering employee loyalty?
I think that's a massive, massive part. And I think, in today's world, there is a very aggressive approach to trying to find talent, trying to retain talent. When you do get that talent, they need to know what their purpose is, how they're aligning to who they're working for, and where everything's going. Value and proposition purposing, that's also incredibly critical internally as well. This isn't just about consumers. It's about all audiences, investors, government and policymakers, consumers and employees. And I think if we can help strategies that foster that understanding, we'll be in a really good place and break away from this digital, fast-paced, reactionary mode I think most people are in right now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ali. Very poised in the searing heat.
Thank you, mate. Likewise. Well done.